This week, we talk about some trailers for some big films coming out this year, another installment of Tezzz Talks, and the introduction of another crew member. Nerd Central starts right now. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Nerd Central. I am your host this week, Andy Johnson, and we're going to lead this show off with the next installment of Tezzz Talks, where Tezzz talks about something in movies, comic books, and TV. What do you got for us this week, Tezzz?
This is Tezzz Talks on Nerd Central.
Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of Tezzz Talks. And today, I'll be talking about 3 DC characters that I feel are the most slept on. The first character is The Question, also known as Vic Sage. He's a TV journalist with super detective abilities, and he wears a faceless mask. I repeat, a faceless mask. He is a master of Kung Fu with genius level intellect. He's also a member of the Justice League. Why don't we know more about this fellow? But I rate him a 4.8 out of 5 simply because you don't see his face, you don't know what he looked like, and he's a genius. When it comes to detective work, comparing him to Batman, I say they're about eye to eye. But the next character is a supervillain. He goes by the name of Lobo, the bounty hunter, or Lobo the main man. He's from the planet of Zarnia. He's the last of his kind, and that's probably because he killed everybody, which explains his name Lobo, which translates to one who devours your entrails and thoroughly enjoys it. Wow, that's an interesting name. Fun fact, he tried to take Superman's place once he died.
Yeah, Superman kicked the bucket. That's why I'm here.
But I would rate Lobo a 5 out of 5. He's actually my personal favorite supervillain in the entire DC universe. And that's simply because he's a savage and he brings humor every time he's on the screen. Now the next character is called Maxwell Lord, or Max Lord. He's a telepath of incredible strengths. He simply distrusts anyone in power, especially those with superpowers. He has the ability to mind control those who are conscious of being mind controlled. He once was able to mind control Superman, sending him on a rampage throughout the town, the city, everywhere, destroying everything. It was bad. It was horrible. But I just gave him a flat 4 out of 5. Simply due to the fact that there are plenty of telepaths, but Maxwell Lord has a cool name, just Max Lord, Maxwell Lord. It's cool to me. Well, that will conclude this episode of Tezzz Talks. Now back to your regular scheduled program.
Thanks, Tezzz. I do agree that Lobo is one of the greater villains in the DC universe. In movie news, we've got 2 trailers for big blockbuster films releasing this year. Let's talk about one right now. Justice League. This is the 4th and hopefully final trailer for the film. The film takes place after Wonder Woman and Batman v Superman. The world is mourning the loss of Superman, and crime has been on the rise. A new threat reveals themselves and plans to take over the planet for an even bigger threat the Earth does not know about. I've seen the trailer. I've seen enough trailers now. I just want to see the movie.
Take that as a yes.
What?
The ring.
We're going to take a short break. Please stay tuned for more Nerd Central. Welcome back to Nerd Central. We're going to take it to our new team member, Tyler Bruff, for his review of the Netflix show Ozark. Tyler?
The TV series Ozark seemed to be one of the most-watched series out during the summer of 2017. For those of you who aren't familiar with the series, the title strongly hints the location the story is set in. Ozark is a Netflix original series created by Bill Dubuque. It's set in the Lake of the Ozarks, which is located near the Missouri-Arkansas border during modern time. Now I know what you're thinking, that sounds boring, right? But you're wrong, because the series focuses on a subject far from the typical tourist experience of the Ozarks. The series starts out in Chicago, where the viewer is introduced to the Bird family. The family is at the center of attention throughout the series. Jason Bateman stars as the father, Marty Bird, in this Netflix original. He's a financial advisor in Chicago, but has a lot more going on than the eye sees, as he has questionable ethics flowing through him. Early on in his career, Marty was visited by a member of the Mexican drug cartel. The guy's name is Dell, and he wants Marty to launder millions of US dollars worth of drug money for him. Marty couldn't resist the large offer that Dell gave him and gives in. Everything was alright and going to plan until Dell realized there was $8 million missing from his account, and he blamed Marty and his partner for the crime. As he sits crisscrossed with his hands behind his back, Marty talks his way out of the situation immediately after witnessing the death of his partner at the hands of Dell. The way Marty gets out of it is by telling him that there is a huge opportunity for money laundering down at the Lake of the Ozarks. Dell spares his life and orders him to leave immediately for the Ozarks. Marty's wife knows all about the money laundering, and when he tells her about what happened and that they need to move, she wanted to take a different route.
No, there is no choice here. Marty, stop. We have to call the police.
I want you to forget it, okay? Or do you want to just role play it? Okay? I'm Detective whoever and you're the wife of the top money launderer for the second largest drug cartel in Mexico. Go.
After she realizes it's their only option, the family packs everything up and moves to the Ozarks the next day. If you want to know what happens from there, get on Netflix and watch the whole series. This has been Tyler Bruff with Nerd Central. Now back to you, Andy.
Thanks, Tyler. I actually haven't seen this show, but it seems pretty good. A bit of anime news came to our attention. Dragon Ball Super introduced Goku to his new form. Goku uses his Kaioken technique to reveal that he is the legendary Saiyan. The show's been on for a couple decades. I'm actually kind of surprised that it took him this long to do it. Let's talk about the other trailer that we mentioned before the break. On October 9th, during the Monday Night Football game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears, Lucasfilm released its second and final trailer for Star Wars The Last Jedi. The film takes place right after The Force Awakens, with Rey being taught the ways of the Force by Luke Skywalker. In the other parts of the galaxy, after the destruction of the Starkiller base, the First Order must regroup and mount an attack against the Resistance. This film releases on December 15th. Along with the new trailer for the film, Lucasfilm debuted a new poster, and there's a lot of red. I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I really like the trailer, but it kind of spoils and it kind of has some mixed directions to it.
And I need help.
I've seen this raw strength only once before. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now.
Now we're going to take it to Zach Brown's Mighty Morphin Madness. Zach?
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Morphin Madness, with me, your host, Zach Brown, where we're going to talk about everybody's favorite teenagers with attitude, the Power Rangers.
Ay, what do we do?
Teleport to us 5 overbearing and over-emotional humans.
No, not that, not teenagers.
That's correct, Alpha.
I was afraid of that.
In this episode, I'm going to be talking about another favorite series of mine, and that is Power Rangers Time Force. This season aired on Fox Kids on February of 2001, and was the last season to air on the Fox family networks because the Power Rangers franchise was sold to the Walt Disney Company. The season follows a police agency called Time Force in the year 3000. They are in charge of capturing mutants and outcasts. After capturing and sentencing a powerful mutant named Rancic, because he plotted on traveling back in time and taking over the world. Rancic escaped, and in the process he kills the original Red Time Force Ranger and fiance of the Pink Time Force Ranger. After he kills the Red Ranger, he goes back in time to 2001 to take over the world. The 4 remaining Police Time Force Rangers break the agency's rules and travel back in time to stop him. While they are in 2001, they find out that their morphers are locked until they find someone with the same DNA as the original Red Ranger. They find his ancestor and the character named Wes Collins, and they can become the Time Force Rangers again in this year.
So is it too late to help?
It's yours. DNA confirmed.
The series concludes with the capture of Rancic, and the year 2001 is saved. Rancic is considered one of the better villains of all the seasons because of how his character was developed, and the writers of the show gave him a backstory unlike many villains before him. This show was praised by Power Rangers fans because of its better acting, a better plot, and overall strong developed characters. Power Rangers Time Force was very successful, and the producers considered a movie, but because of the commercial failure of Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, plans for a feature film were scrapped. Also, this was the first and only season to have the Pink Ranger mainly in charge of the team, and this also was the first season that the Rangers didn't destroy their enemies, rather they captured them in a cryogenic container. This has been Mighty Morphin Madness with yours truly, Zach Brown. Now back to Nerd Central.
Thanks, Zach. Time Force is a pretty good show, but I prefer Ninja Storm. That's going to do it for this week's Nerd Central. Nerd Showdown is next. You can watch Nerd Central, Nerd Showdown, and all of our other amazing shows on KNWT's YouTube page. And follow Nerd Central on Twitter at nerd_central_TV, and follow KNWT on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please stay tuned for Nerd Showdown.
Hello and welcome to Nerd Showdown, the part of Nerd Central where we battle it out on a particular topic we have no business debating. This week with the Blu-ray release of Spider-Man Homecoming, we brought in KZLX's own Nerdmageddon for round 2 in a battle to see which Spider-Man in film is the best. I'm your host, Joel Harmer, and I have with me 2 fantastic fighters. To my left, we have Court Jensen. Court, which Spider-Man do you think is the best?
I am going to be rocking Thomas Stanley Holland, aka Tom Holland.
All right, and to my right, we have Connor Raby. Connor, which Spider-Man do you think is the best?
Tobey Maguire.
All right, the rules are simple. Both competitors will be able to make their points to the audience. After that, yours truly, that's me, gets to decide who reigns supreme. Now that's out of the way, let's show down. All right, Connor, you're up.
All right, well, to start off, first I do want to say Tom Holland is actually pretty cool, but he's just not as cool as Tobey Maguire. Like, for instance, like Tobey, we do have to say he's got that nostalgic feel for him since we did grow up with him. You were around before color TV, so you didn't grow up with him. Tobey's movies actually did attribute to the kickstart of the golden age of comic book-based movies, so I think we got to give him props for that. And also, a lot of my argument is going to be how I think he's a lot better, closer to the Peter Parker of the comics. For instance, he looks a lot more like Peter Parker from Amazing Fantasy number 15, the first issue of Spider-Man, in case you didn't know. And he acts a lot more like him. As you can see in Amazing Fantasy, he is very, very reserved, very shy, and I think Tobey Maguire plays a more shy version of Peter Parker. For instance, Tom Holland's Peter, he goes to a party, and I don't know if I don't know what was going on in his mind. There's just no nerdy, shy way you can spin that. Oh, I'm going for irony's sake. No, like, Tobey's Peter Parker wouldn't go to a party unless he was like picking up someone just to make sure they're okay. And he's like, because like Peter Parker at a party, what? And I think in the, I just got to structure my argument here. In the comics, Spider-Man from the Silver Age of comic books had no guiding mentor to help him. He didn't have not anything. I can't speak. He didn't have any mentor to help him fight crime, and neither did Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker. He has to learn that with great power comes great responsibility. And actually, that being said, Tom Holland's Spider-Man was saved last minute on multiple occasions. Tobey wasn't. If Tobey was drowning, he needed to figure out how to handle it himself, or he would die. If he had the Staten Island ferry tearing in half, he would have to figure out a way how to prevent it himself, which shows, it's like it kind of forces Tobey's Peter Parker to mature really quickly. That being said, he was also a little bit older in the movies. He was in college, and he had his own apartment. Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker he had more older adult responsibilities to keep track of. He had to pick up a job to help his aunt at the Daily Bugle, and I don't see that in Homecoming, where that's a big part of Peter Parker, and like you don't see that. In Spider-Man 2, Aunt May was facing eviction, and actually Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 2, it said that he was like 2 months past due on rent, and it's because he was so busy helping out his aunt by working, because he's willing to sacrifice himself a little bit, and not only like to save people from the foes, but he was also like sacrificing himself in his actual Peter Parker adult world for his loved ones. And it shows he is older, he's a little bit more mature, so he's willing to put that kind of burden of stress on him. And he didn't have any Stark internship cop out as Tom Holland did. Oh, I've got Stark internship. No, he didn't have that cop out. Actually, in Spider-Man 2, we're seeing him willing to throw away the costume if it was keeping him from being the Peter Parker that he needs to be. Now, then again, the threat of losing a loved one, Mary Jane, helps him realize that Spider-Man is kind of an extension of the best Peter Parker he needs to be. I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but like I have to, even though I love him. Peter in the comics didn't have a guy in the chair. Hopefully everyone understands that reference. Tobey's Peter didn't either. He uses his Spidey sense, which we don't see at all in Homecoming, or at least not enough of. That just isn't for Spider-Man action. That's for like in school and at home as well. He wouldn't risk his loved ones like that. He wouldn't risk telling people like that just for the sake of having a guy in the chair. Also, I do have to mention real quick, because I didn't do it before, Tobey Maguire made his own costume. He didn't have any handouts. I had to bring that up. He didn't have any handouts. And also, to make it a little bit easier, Tobey's Peter Parker had webs built into his person. So if he didn't have the chance to change or anything like that, he could just get going right then and there. And I think that's pretty much everything I've got.
All right, Court, what do you got?
Okay, Tom Holland, fantastic actor, was introduced in The Impossible about this tsunami, the real life story of the Asian Ocean, or I think it's the Indian Ocean, tsunami. So you got to see his like versatility, emotions, and personality before he became actually a star with Civil War. So what landed him is like for the actor is the physicality. Like he could do flips. He was on a Broadway show, Billy Elliot. He could dance, and he could actually do these front and back flips. It sold him. So yeah, I know you entered into a lot of logistics that just wasn't part of my universe. Is a different universe. It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe that has all of these pieces to fit into a greater puzzle. So yeah, so he has help from Iron Man, Tony Stark. Yes, I agree. The suit, yeah, could be maybe a cop-out. The webbing, kind of cool actually, the organic, but the spider webbing is more of like the original. The cartridges, it goes back to like the Ditko Stan Lee era, like where they devised it not to be an organic thing of his persons, but something that he designed. And he did design that. He designed the original suit, as shoddy as it looked. He did design that. But he has natural powers. The spider sense, yeah, we didn't get to see that. It kind of like worked through the AI in the suit. But if you were lucky enough to like go into the shaky camera world of the Avengers Infinity War, you saw that if you could make it out, because it was very shaky, his hands or on his arms were the hairs that were standing still, symbolizing that yes, in fact, down the road he does have the spider sense. With Tony Stark, I think Tony is there as a mentor because he's not quite ready. It's to teach him a lesson that don't bite off more than you can chew, kid, basically. And he's there to save him and introduce him into this greater world. His destiny in this Marvel Cinematic Universe is to enter into the Avengers, and he's going to take his rightful throne in this group that he started off. I think what I really like is the whiz-bang like attitude of a kid that's so enthusiastic to be a part of this this Marvel Cinematic Universe or this Avengers universe. He's like, as soon as we see him, he's running around like a kid in a candy store seeing all these heroes. Captain America, he steals his shield, but he's like awestruck at the power that he's actually standing before some of his heroes. Bucky, he is amazed that he's fighting a guy with a cool metal arm. You actually see these like Ditko era like things that he's totally geeking out. Yes, he has a man in a chair, and really, I guess that's really what I have right now.
That's going to do it for Nerd Showdown. The winner is Connor Raby. Woo! Hold your applause. It was after careful consideration. Both contestants made great points. But at the end, it just came down to just very, very well detail from Connor's part. So Connor, congratulations. You did wonderful. Court, good job. Proud of you. Northwest Sessions is next. Just as a reminder to go to KNWT's Twitter page to show your support for this week's Showdown. Make sure you check out Nerdmageddon Thursdays at 8 p.m. on KZLX. That's my show. See you next week.
Twitter at nerd_central_TV and follow KNWT on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please stay tuned for Nerd Show. Oh, I almost did it. I almost did it. Oh, I had a catch in my throat. I hate myself. No, I'll do it after. Don't worry. I got this. Woo! Okay, we're good.
Okay, go. All right.
You're only gonna redo it. I'm gonna redo it.
One of the cool things about TV is at least you can get a couple takes. Like on radio, if you say something, you said it, you gotta own it.